Hello, and welcome to the Earth Chats podcast. I'm your host, Sahara. I'm an activist, writer, speaker, and listener with a passion for creating change in our world. Join me and special guests weekly as we have inspiring conversations and reveal insightful knowledge, tips, and tricks on how you can live more mindfully on this planet. Tune in every Wednesday and make sure to hit subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest episodes. And now, without further ado, let's get on with the episode. Have you taken the plastic pledge yet? I have. The Plastic Pledge is an awareness initiative with the aim of fighting the scourge of plastic pollution. If we know better, we can do better. And the most important thing that all of us can do as a community is to create awareness. Find the link to the Plastic Pledge below. Welcome back to the show, Rhian. Thank you for coming back on and chatting to us today.
Good to be back.
Cool. So, for those of you that don't know, in a previous podcast episode, I had Rhian on the show chatting about all the awesome things that she's doing. But today she is back and we're going to be talking specifically about off-grid living and renewable energy and electricity and all that jazz as part of my Lights Out challenge. So for those of you that have not listened to Rhian's previous episode, Rhian, could you please tell us a little quick snapshot of who you are and what you do?
I'm Rhian Berning and I live here on the Garden Route. I grew up here and I am an environmentalist and activist. I run an online platform called Eco.Atlas, which allows you to search for businesses and organizations based on their ecological and social justice. And I also run some on the ground here in Plettenberg Bay, Renewable Plet, encouraging people to rethink their waste and how they process their waste to minimize it, to go zero waste, and also working directly with children on a project called Generation Regeneration, connecting children to nature and teaching them how to grow their own food. And also working with a project in the township here, Eco.Atlas, supporting and mentoring women who are wanting to set up a local market. So yeah, lots of diverse things involving people and planet.
Wow, it's quite a forte that you have. So
Thank you.
Today I really wanted to delve into renewable energy and off-grid living and so if you could just chat to us a little bit about how long you've been living off the grid and what inspired this transition.
Well, we have been living fully off-grid since we rebuilt after the fires. So that means just 2.5 years that we have been fully off-grid in terms of all our water and energy. But before the fire, we were kind of half off-grid in the sense that we had all our own water supply through rainwater tanks and from runoff from our roof. And when we first moved into the labourer's cottage, which was about 12 years ago, there actually was no electricity at all. So we lived with electricity and just a small gas fridge and gas geysers, and of course our rainwater.
Oh, wow.
So I know what it's like to live with no electricity at all as well. But but fully off-grid with our own solar system and our own water system, recycling our own water as well back into food growing has been 2 and a bit years. Yeah.
Amazing. So I know that like a lot of people, would like to transition to an off-grid system. I know we would love to. But can you explain a little bit more about like your energy setup and your family size, the appliances that you have, how many solar panels you have, and like the average energy that you use and what kind of backup system you have, just like your whole kind of setup, if you could just explain that.
Yeah, so when you live off-grid, people think that it might mean a huge change in lifestyle. But it's really only a few simple things that you have to think about and change. Having lived without electricity, we are also energy conscious. We are aware of how much energy we use, of course. And I think that is a very important thing to do if you are considering going off grid, is to actually go through each room in your house and consider all the appliances and all the things you use that use electricity, and even do a mini audit to have a sense of how much electricity you're using in a day. It's a very, very good idea. So we are a family of 4, and we have 8 solar panels on our garage roof, and they are 310 watts each, and we have 12 batteries, and so we can use about, I think it's about, on average, about 6 or 7 kilowatt hours a day. I'm not an electrician or an electrical engineer, so I don't know enough about what all of that means. But I think having spoken to Daryl, who set up our system, we are quite conservative in terms of the energy we use. But just to give you an idea in terms of appliances that we have a, what one would regard as a normal family home in terms of the appliances. We have a fridge and a washing machine and a dishwasher, and we just don't have an electric oven, so we use a gas oven. And for our geysers as well, we also use gas, because anything that has an element requires a lot of energy to heat it up. So the electric oven uses a lot of energy, as does an electric geyser. We could have had solar geysers, but in terms of being water saving, we didn't have a north-facing roof that was close enough to where the bathroom was. So we would have wasted a lot of water waiting for water to get from the garage roof to the bathroom. So that's why we decided to go for gas geysers, because that's immediate heat. So fridge, washing machine, dishwasher. We don't use an electric kettle. We could, but it also has an element, of course. And then if you have people over at night and you're using your electric kettle for many, many cups of tea and coffee, you could run down your batteries too much. So we rather just choose to have a gas top kettle, so we just heat our water that way. And then in terms of how you change your lifestyle when you are off-grid and on solar power, the only thing you need to think of is that the appliances that you use that use a lot of energy, rather use them in the day when you are directly feeding off the sunlight, and not weigh down your battery. So I don't use my washing machine at night, and I don't use my dishwasher at night. Obviously the fridge stays on all the time, but I run those appliances in the daytime when the sun is shining. Obviously I'm going to only use my washing machine when the sun is shining anyway. But that's really the only lifestyle change, has been only using those appliances in the daytime instead of using them at night. Sometimes when you have a dinner party, it's a little bit frustrating that you can't switch the dishwasher on straight away. But really, it's not much of a sacrifice to make when you consider, being completely off-grid and not dependent on coal and the pollution that creates. So, I hope that answers all of those questions. Just also, I see I didn't answer what inspired the transition. It's just to have as small an impact as possible. It just makes so much more sense to have a renewable energy source. Coal is not renewable. And so, every time you switch on an electric appliance and you are using Eskom, you are in fact burning coal, which is putting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And in Mpumalanga in South Africa is one of the most, if not the most, polluted areas in the world. And it's affecting people in terms of their lungs and respiratory diseases. So it's clean energy. Of course, there is an impact in terms of how the solar panels are made and how the batteries are made. But if you look after your equipment and it has a long life, it makes much more sense to go renewable.
For sure. I mean, I've been doing quite a bit of research on coal and energy production stuff in South Africa for this Lights Out Challenge because I've been writing up a couple of blogs. And it's quite shocking, the statistics you find. And also, I think it was something like South Africa, I think 77% of our energy comes from coal, but 40% of all coal used in Africa is actually mined in South Africa. So that makes us like having the largest greenhouse gas emissions in the continent, which is quite hectic if you think about it.
Yes, 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 and of course, it's these carbon dioxide particles in the atmosphere are then creating havoc with our climate because they are a greenhouse gas that traps heat on the planet, and it's having all kinds of knock-on effects to our climate. So sunlight is free and abundant in South Africa. It makes so much sense.
I mean, we get receive 2 times the amount of sunlight compared to Germany, something like that. Another fact that I read online.
Yes. Yes. So it just makes so much sense. And yes, of course, there is an outlay, a financial outlay in the beginning, but then you're not paying every month for energy. It's energy becomes free. It's just the most incredible concept.
Yeah, I'm actually going to skip now that you mentioned about paying Eskom. I'm just going to quickly skip down to my questions because I actually have a question for you regarding this. Because while I was doing research for my family, because we were looking at going off-grid, I live on a property with my whole extended family, so we're 4 families in total, and we were looking at going off-grid and having solar panels and stuff. Unfortunately, at the time being, would be quite a big investment for all of us to go off-grid because we are 4 families and each family has at least 3-4 people in it. So that would be quite an investment. So for now, we're putting it on hold. But while I was doing my research for that, I found that apparently you can't technically be off the grid. So even if you're not, they'll still charge you. Is that true?
Well, if you have an Eskom point, it depends if you're still going to use any Eskom at all, I think, because you have to pay for availability. I'm kind of the wrong person to ask because I don't fall into that category.
So you guys are completely disconnected from Eskom and everything?
Yes. Because of the fire, our transformer burnt, and we didn't, instead of replacing the transformer, we decided to rather invest that money in solar panels. So we don't have an Eskom connection at all. So,
well, that was a blessing.
So, but I know that, also then in terms of still having to pay Eskom, and you also had a question about feeding back into the grid.
Apparently, Eskom doesn't allow people to feed back into the grid with renewable energy if you have excess energy from your solar panels, which they do in other countries. If you have extra energy coming from your solar panels, you can actually feed it back into the national grid. And apparently Eskom doesn't do that. What do you know about that?
Well, they do in certain places. It depends on your municipality, and it also depends on the scale of your system. So I know that there are businesses in Cape Town that are doing just that. That's, when they've got a big system, say bigger than 10 kilowatts, they are allowed to feed back into the grid, but it just doesn't scale downwards. So that if you're just a domestic household, you won't be creating enough energy for them. It doesn't make sense for them to do it at this stage. Perhaps when everybody is on renewable energy, it will be a different story. But at this stage, it doesn't make sense. So it does depend on the municipality, and it depends on the size of your system.
So I'd be curious to know, what are some of the struggles you faced when transitioning to off-grid living?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there were challenges. The only challenge, of course, is that it's a financial outlay. We were a very specific situation where we were rebuilding after a fire. So we had to reinvest in absolutely everything, not just our solar system. So we were starting from scratch. So it made sense to start from scratch and build a solar system and not go, back onto the coal grid. So other than that, I wouldn't say that there were any challenges. It was just about working out exactly what size system we needed, but we had an incredible team that we worked with that was so helpful. I had to do exactly that. I had to do an audit of all the appliances and everything that I would use. I had to kind of imagine it because I didn't have it yet because of the fire. But imagining what we were all going to have, and then build the system according to what we needed. We of course also have water pumps because our water is also off grid. So we needed water pumps for pressure in our home and for pressure for water for the vegetable garden. So we also have water pumps running off it. But yeah, it's really is quite incredible how efficient we are. I think when you have been living with Eskom and with energy just kind of there at the flick of a switch, you've kind of become a bit lackadaisical about how energy is always available. But when you haven't had it, you do become aware of what you're using and how you're using it. So switching off lights when you're not using them, just all those simple energy saving tips. Also really good to, if you are going to go off grid, have a look at the kind of appliances that you have. So they need to be double A or triple A energy rated appliances. So for example, I really researched which kind of fridge would be best to run off solar. So ones that have a smaller engine and require less energy. So that might be a struggle for people who are wanting to transition to off-grid, is that their appliances might not be compliant in terms of being older fridges that are energy guzzlers.
Being smart about the appliances that you're going to be having in your house.
Yes, very much so. Like even something like a hairdryer, a hairdryer doesn't really feature in my life. But, that also, if you have a smaller system, it has an impact because it also needs the elements to be heated. And if you're using your hairdryer a lot at nighttime, that's really going to wear down your battery. So,
sure. Since we're actually talking about the money thing, I would actually like to touch on that because I think that one thing that probably holds people back the most from going off the grid is the investment. So I'm not sure if you would mind maybe just sharing a little bit on the money side of things and how much people can expect to invest if they want to go 100% off the grid.
Yes, so once again, our situation was slightly different because we'd lost everything in the fire. We were given a very special deal with the equipment that we bought. So it would be different if we had to start now again from scratch, and just going into the market fresh. So, and we also didn't skimp in terms of quality. There's so much of a variation in the kind of quality you get if you get really, cheap, badly made panels and equipment. Charge controller, so that it controls the charge that's coming from the panel going into your house, so it's regulating it all the time. So we used a product called Victron, which is really top quality product. And so I think I checked and did a bit of research with Daryl Hunt, who set up our system. He's from Eco.Atlas, and he is a sustainability consultant, and he partners with specialized solar systems who are based in George. And they really do focus on quality equipment. And he said for a family of four, for a system like ours, you would be looking at about 200 to 250,000 rand to have a fully off-grid system at this stage. And that would also be with the new lithium-ion batteries, which are more expensive, but if you work out the lifetime cost for them, they're much cheaper because they last much longer. It's their efficiency and their longevity. So while they are a bit more of an outlay initially, their lifetime cost is much better. So yes, so you would be looking at about that if you wanted to go 100% immediately off grid.
So that was about 100 to 150,000 rand.
For us it was, but if you had to do it now, I would say with the lithium-ion batteries, you'd be looking at more like 200 to 250,000 rand.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm sure it'll be very helpful for some of us.
I'm quickly interrupting this episode to bring you a little message from our amazing sponsors who've made this episode possible. I live in the beautiful town of Knysna in the Garden Route, and I want to invite everyone to visit this fantastic part of our country. We have everything: indigenous forests, nature reserves, awesome views, beautiful beaches, and natural wildlife. Come for a dream vacation. Oh, and I almost forgot. Knysna has some of the best restaurants you will find anywhere. Follow us on Instagram at @visitgardenroute, where we will introduce you to our fantastic and favorite people, places, and things to visit. This is us on Instagram at @visitgardenroute. And now, without further ado, let's get on with the rest of the episode.
Now, for somebody who's wanting to go off the grid but isn't really in a place to make the full investment in one go, is it possible to transition one step at a time and make the investment over time? So like purchasing, maybe like 1 or 2 solar panels at a time and building your way up. Is that possible?
Yes, it definitely is. And I know people who do that, especially with load shedding. So they set up their system so that, the panels will just make sure that their internet is still running, their computers are still running, and anything else that's really essential for them while load shedding is happening. So you definitely can build yourself up in a modular system, obviously because, the panels are themselves modular, so you can start with a few panels and build them up. What you would have to consider though is your inverter, because the inverter is a costly element of the whole system. So if you bought a small inverter, so what an inverter does is that it's converting the energy from the panels into an energy form that can be used in your home. So if you are going to slowly build it up, you might start with a small one, but then you might in the future want a bigger one. So that I would recommend that you went for the size initially that you eventually wanted to build up to. But otherwise, you could definitely go on a modular basis for sure and slowly build it up and kind of supplement your grid usage, your Eskom usage with solar power, definitely.
Okay, great. So basically, you would, if you were to start buying like 1 or 2 solar panels, you would just want to make sure that if you are going to be expanding, to be buying an inverter that is big enough to be expanded on.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That's what I would recommend.
Thank you. So, are you ready for a little quick fire off-grid rapid round?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So, have you ever had to use your backup system?
No, we actually haven't. So everyone said to us, you must have a generator as a backup, for rainy days, and if you have lots of dark cloud. It is quite incredible. In 2 and a bit years, we have not once had to use the generator. We even had where it was 4 days of really heavy rain and dark cloud. And while I was conscious of what I was using over that time, I didn't use the washing machine because it was raining, but I was conscious of the energy that I was using. We did not have to switch the generator on. And that being said, we are very careful of looking after our batteries well. Now, when I say to look after your batteries, what it means is you don't let your batteries drop below 70%, because that will give them a longer lifespan. So we always keep our batteries over 70%. They are the old-fashioned lead acid batteries, which are also recyclable, luckily. But we want to give them as long a life as possible, obviously, because they took resources to make them. I'm not being very rapid about this, sorry, but this is a very important point. So even in those 4 days, those 4 days of heavy cloud and rain, we didn't even drop below 70% on our batteries. And so we never even switched on our generator. So yeah, quite incredible. Yeah.
That's amazing. So I actually want to know, what do you do like during the winter and like on rainy days? Is there like a noticeable drop in the amount of energy you're getting in? Do you still get energy in on like a really cloudy day?
Yes. So if it's really that dark grey cloud, then we don't get nearly as much energy coming in. But if it's that kind of white, bright cloud, so even if it's fully overcast, but it's that white, bright overcast, it's incredible how much energy we still can get in. We have an amazing little machine called color control, which we have in our kitchen. So we don't have to always go out to the room to check how much energy we are getting and using. So we can just press on that and see at any given moment how much energy is coming in from the sun and how much we're using, which is really useful. So it's quite fun to check that, on a sunny day, how much are you getting in. And we at any time get in over 2,000 kilowatts in any given moment. I think 2.5.
Wow.
Not kilowatt. Yeah, that's right. That is right. But obviously the cloudier, the less energy we're getting in. But even on a cloudy day, you can still recharge your batteries to 100%. So, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Also, sorry if anybody can hear screaming goats in the background. My goats are going a bit crazy at the moment. I think they want to come out. But anyway, so sorry about that. Okay, so hopefully nobody else can hear them. Right. So what advice can you give someone transitioning to off-grid, and where should they start?
So as I mentioned before, the best place to start is to do an energy audit of your home and see exactly what appliances you have, what their energy ratings are, and to get a sense of how much energy you're using per day, so that you can work out what size system you would need. So that is definitely the number one thing to do. And just become conscious as you are going through your day, that uses energy and how much energy it uses.
Cool. Now our last question is, how can we reduce our energy consumption without living off the grid? So if we can't at this present moment go off the grid, what can we do to just cut back on some of the energy that we are consuming?
Well, something like an electric geyser, now they've brought in these timers where you can switch off your geyser for certain times of the day, but you can also get a geyser blanket. A geyser is a big guzzler of energy, so I would definitely look at your geyser usage and whether you can get a timer so that it's just kind of ticking over and not always remaining at its peak temperature, but also to get a geyser blanket to insulate it so that it's not losing heat throughout the day. And then, just to look at your appliances, and if you do need to get new appliances, rather go for low energy rating. Just simple things like, as I said, like switching off lights when you're not using them. If you're not in a room, don't keep, all the appliances going at night. Also, actually switch off your appliances at the wall so that you're not always keeping even a charger plugged in is still drawing energy. So to actually switch off you're not using at the wall is a good idea. Obviously not your fridge. Don't switch your fridge off at the wall. That's not a good idea. But any other appliances that you're not using, you can switch them off the wall. And then also when you are using, say your washing machine or your dishwasher, go for the quicker cycles, eco cycles that use less water and use less energy. And if you are, on a small holding like I am, save water and energy by not keeping taps running. Obviously now in the time where everyone is so aware with COVID-19 of sanitizing and washing their hands, to please switch off the tap, while you are washing. Those of us, like I say, who are using a pump to keep the water running, you're obviously using energy while you are running water.
And I think that the cool thing about even just looking at going off the grid is that it makes you more mindful of what you actually, the amount of energy that you actually are using and what is using what.
Yes, and then to also not use appliances for more than what they're needed for at that moment. Say if you are making a cup of tea just for yourself, don't fill the kettle to full because that's a real waste of energy. So only fill the kettle, with 1 cup's worth of water, and then it will obviously boil quicker, and you'll be using less energy.
So it'll save energy and it will save you time.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming back on the show and chatting to us about all this good renewable off-grid living jazz. It's been fantastic. I learned a couple of things, making some notes on the side. So thank you very, very much. If you could just let the listeners know where they can find you and the work that you're doing with Eco.Atlas, you guys must really go and check that out. It's a fantastic platform. If you could just give us those links, and we will link them in the show notes.
Yeah, sure. So you can get hold of me through the website www.eco.atlas.co.za, and you can follow me on Instagram, eco_atlas, or on Facebook. You can search at Eco.Atlas Africa and you'll come to the Facebook page. And you're welcome to also email me through the website if you have any other questions. And I'd also just like to give you the contact details for Daryl, who set up my system, because he is so knowledgeable and he is a sustainability consultant in the area, helping people set up really efficient systems. We are so happy with our system. Just to also say one last thing that I didn't mention before is you would really need to consider when setting up that you have a north-facing roof. So in our situation, because we were rebuilding from scratch after the fire, we actually built our garage specifically for the solar panels. So we literally made sure it was facing true north and not magnetic north. We made sure that the roof pitch was 30 degrees because that's the best angle to get the maximum sun throughout the day. So well, these are all things that you have to consider, but that someone like Daryl would be able to help you with. And Ray Nolan from Specialized Solar Systems is someone that he works with as well. So the number at Eco Synergy is 082-339-9590. He will help you with any kind of system. He also does biodigesters, where he has set up one at his house. So he himself is living off-grid with all these incredible off-grid systems. So he's a really great guy to get you going on the off-grid living.
That's awesome. Thanks. If you can just send me his details, then I'll link them in the show notes as well. That would be great.
Yeah, I will do that, definitely.
Perfect. Well, thank you again for coming on, for the chat and all the knowledge that you shared. I think it'll be very, very useful, very, very helpful.
Such a pleasure. It was really good to chat to you again, Sahara, and I hope that you can slowly build up your own off-grid solar system there, even if you have to start small and take it from there.
Yeah.
Modular.
Sure, it is my dream to have full-on off-grid system. So we will get there. We'll get there one day.
Yes, good luck with that.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much, and lots of love to you and your family, and I hope that everyone is keeping well and safe during this time.
Yes, we planted some radish seeds today with the children to keep them active, and learning about how to grow our own food. I think we all need to think about how not only to be off-grid, but also self-sufficient and growing healthy food in these times. So, that's the way forward.
Yes, I've also been planting lots in my garden.
Enjoying the show? Then please support us so that we can continue making awesome episodes just for you. A minimum donation of 100 Rand will get you or your business listed on the Earth Chats page as a sponsor with a link to you or your business. Please visit the link below to make your contribution. Thank you for tuning in to the Earth Chats podcast and supporting the show. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you feel someone else could maybe benefit from hearing this conscious conversation, please do give it a share. And that's it for now, guys. I'll see you next week.